we are moving on to a panel discussion called I Was Just Playing, How Playing Actual Games May Help Combat Abuse. And we have some very interesting speakers on this very panel with us today. We have Henrik Almén from Sverok, which of course, as we have talked about, is one of the project partners of Game Changer. And we also have Jóhann Ragnarsson, who is here from RISI, the Icelandic Esports Association, will also be joining this panel. May I invite you to take the stage. We also have, because we simply cannot get enough of him, Christian Mogensen. And they are here to talk about how the most commonly used offenses used by perpetrators in cases of online abuse against women and girls, how gaming can actually be helpful to cultivate healthy mindsets and attitudes among players. So without further ado, I'm going to give the word over to this panel, because this is the first panel today where we only have men. So do enjoy yourselves and give them a warm welcome.
Thank you, Tordis, and I will be moderating, so I will be trying to keep my opinions to as few as possible. I briefly want to touch on Henrik, whose bio reads, Henrik is an acting secretary of Sverok, the Swedish Gaming Federation. Sverok has around 1,700 member associations all over Sweden. The association offers youth a plethora of activities, both within digital games, but also with tabletop games, cosplay, and other gaming-related activities. Jóhann Ragnarsson is a new addition to the esports scene, having just joined the Icelandic Esports Federation, RISI, as a project manager of equality and education a few months ago. Though he is new to the esports sphere, he has a long history of gaming and a background in game design from Nord University. Gender issues and equality have been a central focus in his work for the NGO CLF Iceland in recent years. Having enhanced access to digital education, implemented health education programs, and currently working on a teenage pregnancy prevention program for a school in Kampala, Uganda. We have a tall order ahead of us. Mm-hmm. We need to open the box of flirting, gender harassment, and video games, and we need to find a solution, and we have about 30 minutes to do so. So, Jóhann, I want to hear, I've been gaming online for close to 30 years, as I told earlier. Harassment, shit talk, and like making fun of each other has been there as long as I can remember, all the way back to Warcraft 2 in 1995 and 96. Is there really different kinds of severity here, or is it just bad for everyone? Is there a gender difference to how you're talked to when you game online?
I think there's definitely a difference. I mean, it's just a recent report. I even jotted down some of the numbers because there were a lot of numbers in the report. It showed that, I mean, 65% of female gamers experience toxicity while gaming, and 31% of them experience it regularly. And I mean, the threats are verbal abuse, they get sent inappropriate content, sexual harassment, and even 12% receive threats of rape. And that is not as prevalent for male gamers. So I think there is definitely a gap there. And I mean, it's something we have to look into as well, because female gamers are pretty equal in number to male gamers. At least from a recent EU report, it shows that the gender difference is close to none, and about half of the population in Europe play games regularly. But female gamers are on the receiving end of abuse way more than male gamers, especially when it comes to gendered abuse.
And we've talked a lot about today why that is a problem and how it comes about. Bjarki, I want to hear, because you told me yesterday when we met on the plane that you are the coach of a female esports team. Yeah. Is this something that they deal with as professional esports athletes?
I think most of the girls on my team actually play with just voice comms turned off for precisely this reason, and we've definitely seen that in the league that they play in Iceland. That, well, it was actually surprising. A lot of the female teams that were formed as a response to this creation of the first female esports league in Iceland in the video game Valorant. A lot of the teams did play in both divisions, so also the open league. But still, many of the teams are only playing in the female league, and in international or regional tournaments, they also go to the female-only leagues because it is a safer environment for them. So, yeah, I think they definitely, like, even those who have the ambition to be pro in this scene, they do take steps to, how do you put this, ensure like their safety, like despite these aspirations.
And that's definitely one of the problems that we often come up with, that we treat the symptom. Then we just make a girls' league where the girls can have a safe environment instead of fixing the problem. I want to get to also the foundation of what we're talking about. Henrik, in our conversations before the panel, you touched on the very notion that almost all young people play video games. Why?
Because it's fun.
All right, thank you.
It's a simple answer, and everyone thinks it's fun, and you find your game. And I think we have Swedish statistics, mostly from the Internet Foundation in Sweden's work, where you can clearly see a divide starting to happen in the teens, where like girls go over to mobile gaming instead of remaining with the computer and TV consoles. So there's definitely a difference in how you game later in life, but everyone likes to game, and that's because gaming is fun. That's the like fundamental answer. And it's really sad that some people don't get to be part of that gaming culture, or when they are to be faced with the harassment that they are. So that's a huge issue that it's a problem that needs to be solved from many different angles, but we are trying to do ours as one arena for activities for youth.
Is the harassment that girls and women, young women, start to receive in their early teens, is that the reason for the exodus of girl gamers? Is that why they leave for mobile games?
It's difficult to say, and like that's one thing we've observed, but I wouldn't want to say definitely. And I would really want more data on this. I think there's too little being done, especially on the youth groups. We see more data being collected on older women, but not as much on like really young girls. And I think it's a problem that begins very early. So we need more data to also be sure that the different tools we could do to affect this problem, that they're implemented at an early age.
And just to tie in on that a little as well, like from the report as well, it showed that about 25%, I think, of female gamers that are on the receiving end of harassment in multiplayer games, they leave the game and never return. And then they rather progress into mobile games or just single-player games. And I mean, that's something that the manufacturer of the game should combat as well, because they are losing a lot of players through that.
Misogyny is literally bad business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a good point for why it's a problem that we can solve, and that the game developers have a huge part in creating safe environments from how they build good games.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the differences between video games, especially online computer games, and playing games in the, I don't know, somebody's backyard or the schoolyard, is that here we have multiple actors. We have parents, we have professionals like yourself, but we also have the producers and moderators of computer games, the game lobbies themselves. We have Discord. We have a slew of different agents that we can hopefully provoke or even motivate to help us solve some of these problems. Jóhann, I want to get back to just the foundational issue that we're all talking about here. How do we get more women into esports? Will they come if we just clean up the chats and the voice channels and get Discord to like moderate a bit better? if we just create the space, will we have women come back into gaming? Or do we need to have a concrete initiative like girls' nights or female-focused gaming education? Like, how do we do from now on?
I think we have to pretty much approach it from all angles. I mean, we have to take a stricter line in moderating and take a hard line against gendered abuse. But a way to structure like a good environment is also like esports organizations or whoever are working in the esports scene, they should also try to make the environment safer and more inclusive. And a part of that is having girl nights and special girl trainings. And we have even been approached recently by like the largest female gamer organization in Iceland. And there are women and girls in that organization that have been either shy at attending like normal trainings to become a caster or production assistant or esports coach, or they are like tech shy and they're just shy to attend a training where they perceive it as a male dominant field. So they have been asking for a special seminar for girls. So that is something that, at least Rishi as an esports organization that is holding those seminars, we can easily have special trainings for girls and get them into more jobs in the esports scene. And by fostering a more inclusive environment, we get broader views and views straight from women that caters to a more safer environment for everyone.
I think that would be a very, very good outcome, hopefully in the near future. Bjarki, we have talked a bit about getting girls into gaming and allowing them a safe space and how we do it in a good way. One of the things I often hear, and you've concurred with that, is that gaming is, like we just heard, a male-dominated field. As soon as we get into online multiplayer games after the age of 12, 13, 14, where gender becomes, dare I say, an issue, or at least the talking point, do we need to create a room where girls can get good in gaming for them to be accepted into the gaming space? Or is it not about, what I'm trying to get at is, are the boys harassing them, boys and men harassing them because they're not good or because they are girls?
So yeah, video gaming and also just video game development and basically many, if not all, sectors of this field are very male dominated. And what we've seen, or well, what I've personally seen is that often women are harassed because they are women, but also because they're bad. Because there are fewer women, and they've had less opportunities and more barriers to joining because of the male domination of the field. They are, on average, worse at video games. I think this is unfortunately become, at least the perception of most gamers is as such. Like women, I don't see many women. When I do see women play, they are usually worse, and the perception becomes that women are worse gamers. And because video game culture is very much about, or how I've perceived it, is very much about this hierarchy where you are allowed to trash talk the person that is worse than you at the game. The notion becomes that because women are apparently, or according to these men, inherently worse at video games, then you're allowed to trash talk all girls because you're a man and you're therefore better than them. So yeah, the harassment seems to often be because they are women. And I think in this regard, we just need more female role models that prove that they are better or as good at video game than men. Unfortunately, the professional esports space hasn't been helping in this regard. You can name there's not a lot of professional women esports players that are playing in open leagues with men. There was one woman who played in the Overwatch League. There is the case of Scarlet in StarCraft, which enjoyed great success, obviously, and that was excellent. But then we see also, for example, in Valorant, there's the game changer scene, the female Valorant competitive scene, and we don't see really any of the girls there transition to the open league or like the Valorant Championship Tour, the official tournament for everyone. So it kind of like gives those who perceive it this way ammunition to continue this rhetoric. So yeah, I'm not sure how it's best to combat this. More role models.
I can only depressingly add, like we have seen exactly the same in Denmark. We had a female competitive Counter-Strike player who subbed into one of the open league professional teams, and everybody piled on, oh my god, they're gonna have a woman, they're gonna lose so bad, like she's so terrible because she's a woman. And like you've all spoken to, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And she played one match as a sub, and she finished mid with about 1-to-1 kill to death ratio. But everybody said it was her fault that her team lost because she wasn't the best player. She wasn't the worst either, but she was the one, because she is the woman on the team, she must have fucked it up for everybody else. So this is uplifting news. Much to what you're also saying, to your point, Jóhann, we don't have a lot of female role models in gaming or in games. The internet shit its collective pants when Nintendo mentioned they would put out a Legend of Zelda game with Zelda, the princess, as the protagonist, not as the one being rescued by Link. It's the same game. We just swapped out one color palette for the other, and everybody was, we need to boycott Nintendo, we need to burn it to the ground, can we have a drone strike? This is ingrained in not only gaming culture, but also games as a whole. Henrik, can we just ask the parents to raise better kids and thus better gamers? Is it just a parenting problem?
It's not just the parenting problem, but there are definitely aspects of it where I think parents need to do more. I think a lot of parents have never played games their children play with their kids. I think that's one solution that's quite easy to adapt to, and where you could probably get results really quickly, in that you also have children who, when they're faced with like online abuse, can actually speak to an adult and get support in a very immediate way. So I think there are a lot of things that we're missing from the grown-up world, and where children really would wish for more interaction with their parents. They maybe won't state that, but I think it's definitely one part of it. And I think it could also foster better relationships in general. I remember as a youth when my father took down my door because I couldn't hear when they called for dinner time. And that was one of their solutions to my gaming problem, where obviously I played an online game. You can't just quit those. And I think they would have gotten that more if they'd played it with me. So I think there are a lot of barriers you could take down if grown-ups were more engaged. And I think that comes with the territory also of like what we do with associations. We have children gaming with each other, but we don't always have the grown-ups who could support them in developing their organizations. Whereas if you're into sports, it's probably easier to get a parent to like take you to the game. I don't think every child who's into gaming gets their ride, so to say. So I think there's a lot more grown-ups could do.
Which titles, because I know we have parents listening, and I know we have concerned parents listening, and often in the day and age we have today, a good gamer parent is a gamer parent, they think, that limits the screen time. If my kid only plays 2 hours of Counter-Strike, that's better than if they play 4 hours of Counter-Strike, notwithstanding the quality of the game or the communication. What is the title? If a parent comes up to either of you, I want to hear all of you, and say, I want to understand gaming so I can connect with my child, in itself a very good idea. what is the title where you say, sit down and play or watch someone playing this title? Then you get why gaming is good.
I think there are a lot of titles, but for me, I think one example that parents understand pretty well when they see, especially young children play, is Minecraft. It's a great example of a collaborative game where you can play with other friends, but where I think adults can see that you build stuff as well. I think that's one of the points that talks to Minecraft's favor.
Like, I see communication and like non-toxic communication and effective communication as one of the big good things that can come out of co-gaming of parents and children. And one game that I like as an introduction is a game called Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, because it bridges the analog and the digital world, and only one participant is in the digital world and is presented with a bomb with different modules that he has to disconnect, and all the other players have actual printed out manuals that they have to quickly go through and communicate to the bomb diffuser how we should approach the bomb. And in order to be successful there, you have to have quick communication, effective communication, use even like inside knowledge, like family. You can build on family memories or something in your surroundings, and I think that is an excellent game as an introduction to gaming.
Bjarki.
So yeah, in the sense of selecting a title for a seminar for parents to learn how to play video games with their children, I would probably go with something of the lines of, I don't know, you wouldn't let your kid play alone with a soccer ball in the yard for 8 hours every day. It sounds a bit shamey, but I mean, parents maybe don't recognize what I and my partners like to call the solo queue problem. So in today, like when we grew up, if you wanted to play competitive Counter-Strike, you had to be in a clan or a group, a team with at least 4 other people, and you had to be part of a community to find 5 other players to play against. But games today just have a button that does all of this for you. So effectively, even though a child is playing with someone, they aren't really making any relationships. They are basically playing alone. So making parents recognize that and comparing it to something that they might be able to understand, like, okay, your kid doesn't go to the football field. He's just in his backyard kicking a ball at a wall for how many hours per day. At some point you recognize that this isn't perhaps normal, and you would join them so that they aren't alone and kicking their ball. And
I fully agree.
Yeah.
We need to minimize the time kids spend playing football. That was my takeaway. Thank you so much for the short geek out. I do want to finish like our last 5-minute sprint on the problem we have at hand. Bjarki, you said yesterday when we talked that we can use esports, or rather esports communities, to solve the problem of young men sending dick pics and harassment, because it deals with, they say in the data we have seen earlier today, Tordis presented it, Mari and Moa touched on it as well, that they do so out of a lack of emotional control and bad initiative regulation. Like, can we just throw all of the dick pic perpetrators into a Counter-Strike lobby and expect the problem to be fixed, or do we need to be a bit more hands-on? I'm asking you both as a researcher and as an esports coach.
So I think solved is a strong word that you used there. But we've definitely seen that like organized youth programs that utilize esports as a tool do help participants with learning more how to regulate their emotions and deal with rejection. And this is perhaps primarily in the form of teaching these participants how to accept losing and teaching them how to recognize losing in a video game as an opportunity for learning. So you're turning something that's usually negative into a positive instead. And this is something that we've seen great success with and deals directly with emotional regulation.
That's also a huge responsibility on the coach, that at a certain point becomes more than a trainer and more as a professional guardian or a support system for the kids.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that as a tool in digital youth work, esports is perhaps even less about teaching the participants how to be good at a particular game, and it's more about using the phrase esports to get these individuals into an organized environment where you can actually teach them more akin to youth work. I mean, young kids who sign up for esports classes and are perhaps only playing Minecraft and Roblox, you aren't teaching them how to be better at Minecraft or Roblox. You're teaching them things like how to sit correctly in their chairs and how to communicate nicely to each other, etc. So, yeah.
It's true. I am on a hiring committee in my office, and we see all of our applicants saying, I've played football for 20 years, so I'm a team player. I am waiting gleefully for the day where someone says, I've been a guild leader in World of Warcraft, so I can organize people across 9 different time zones, because that's what I need in my team. Johann, you've mentioned that you work with young kids. How do we teach them exactly this? How do we teach them not to be better at winning the game itself, but be good at gaming? And like, what is the good game, if not just a game where you won?
Yeah, that's a big question, but I mean, it all goes hand in hand, and that's the focus of like our training seminars to trainers, and the focus of most of the structured esports programs in Iceland is that there is a balanced focus between playing and physical health and mental health. And we can even see, like Bjarki mentioned, that like esports programs for the youngest kids, they are often with their first and foremost focus is on communication, and playing games is like maybe 4th or 5th on the list. So in my mind, like starting young and building up like a healthy lifestyle in terms of physical health and mental health, and discipline when playing, and making the most of your time when playing, and how you can use losses as a constructive criticism towards yourself is also very vital. And emotional regulation, like don't get caught up into one loss or 5 losses in a row, and at the same time don't get cocky if you have won 5 games in a row or 10 games in a row, and how you can approach building that into a positive that should in theory make you a good gamer at the end.
I like the idea of that. I haven't seen it in the League of Legends lobbies that I'm in, but Henrik, just to send us off to the parents, to the professionals, to all of the adults that want to understand Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, that want to understand Minecraft and all of the other magical worlds that we do have at the tip of our fingers. How do I open the conversation?
Oh, that's a good point. I think we've actually put out a manual for parents of esporters in Swedish. So that's accessible on our website. Let's see if I can pull one of the, I think mainly just ask to join. I think that's the like simple thing to do. I think seldom you'll get a complete refusal. There might be some bartering. And it might be that if they have a budget for minutes, this can't be part of that gaming time they're allotted, that this has to be the extra time. But I think if you start a conversation just by, can I join your game? You'll eventually get a yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you for everybody who tuned in and wanted to geek out a bit about video games and how they, in Bjarki's words, can help us save the world. So thank you so much.